Welcome back to the channel. As most of you should know, the importance of external TCs have firmly taken their place in the current Rust building meta for some time, and rightfully so, as their implementation has become a must for all bases nowadays, but especially for multi-TC bases. In my most recent builds, I've been using a novel concept developed by myself and these people from the Easy Building Discord group because of how powerful, simple, and cost-efficient you can make it. Introducing the Hexapod, a disconnectable external TC that allows you to extend your building privilege while having no exposed soft sides. The design houses the disconnectable element and TC in the same structure to be as compact as possible. When needed, you can easily reduce the privilege by using instability mechanisms without having to worry about it being vulnerable to splash damage from the outside. To disconnect the TC from you, raiders will be forced to spend about 7 rockets and some explosive ammo, or about 14 rockets and some ammo to reach the tool cupboard. It also allows you to use it as a flanking base, or even as a starter while you gather your resources to establish your main. You can easily establish these outside of any structure, or as the structure that houses the tool cupboard for the sections of a multi-TC base. So what makes this the best disconnectable external TC design? That's a pretty bold claim that I wouldn't make lightly unless I truly believed it. The biggest feature that sets this apart from the competition is the instability frame mechanism that allows for the design to be 100% non-soft-sidable. There are tons of fantastic designs by the community, but in some form or another, they all inevitably have at least one element that can be soft-sided. Besides that, I believe the design strikes a nice balance between features, cost, simplicity, strength, and compactness. Of course, you can take the core concept and apply stronger applications to it as you see fit. With that being said, here's a quick tour and demonstration. Coming up to the external, you'll see the floating frame extension that carries the building privilege to overlap it with your base. Through the double armored door airlock, we find lots of storage deployables to store extra gear sets, or to split and hide loot if you're expecting an imminent raid. Below the airlock is the disconnectable element, which we'll come back to in a minute. Besides ample storage, there is a locker with 2 sleeping bags that serve as an alternative respawn point to flank raiders. Additional access to the storage deployables. While it only takes about 7 rockets for raiders to disconnect the external from you, the TC will require a minimum of 14 rockets to reach. I would not keep this fully stocked, but if you choose to, you can easily surpass 28 days worth of upkeep if it's not supporting the upkeep of a multi-TC section. To temporarily reduce the building privilege, simply break this twig half wall, which will cause the sheet metal frame to collapse. Then you can easily replace your main TC and quickly reconnect the external to restore the overlapping privilege from the external tool cupboard. Let's take a moment to explain why it matters to be able to disconnect the TC. As Wurst so elegantly explained in his now patched build of the Exopod, if your main TC is destroyed in a raid, raiders will not be able to place their own TC. However, this also applies to you. When you try and replace the main tool cupboard, you will get a cannot stack building privilege error. Additionally, even though the external TCs overlap their privileges with your main structure, they do not upkeep it, meaning it will decay unless you replace it. In traditional external designs, you would have to have the means of breaking the tool cupboards that are providing the overlapping privileges so that you can replace the main TC. However, this can leave you incredibly exposed to griefing, especially in a post-raid scenario. By contrast, disconnectable external TCs allow for you to easily and quickly reduce your building privilege to replace your main tool cupboard. And again, with this particular design, unlike most other disconnectable designs, there are 0 soft-sidable elements, meaning raiders will have to use considerably more explosives if they want to disconnect all privileges to your base, and even more if they want to completely control all external tool cupboards. If this half-height twig wall is broken, the frame on the outside becomes too unstable and collapses. This disconnects the external TC from the floating frame extension and reduces the building privilege so that it is no longer overlapping with the main base, allowing you to then replace the tool cupboard. Destroying the twig wall is a much more convenient and safer way to temporarily reduce the privilege rather than destroying a TC. This design allows you to minimize the time your base is exposed. Simply replace the twig wall and sheet metal frame respectively once you're done with replacing the main TC. Before we jump into the build, I'd like to give a special shout out and thanks to Dirac for his thorough design consulting. This channel is highly underrated and the man is a genius for novel Rust concepts and exploits. Definitely check him out and consider subscribing to him. His channel will be linked in the description, as well as 2 videos with some basic designs from the different kinds of frame instability implementations. With that being said, let's jump into the build. Today, I'll actually be showing two versions you can choose from. One design uses instability frames through the entrance of the structure, while the other moves them completely out of the way of the player. I've grown to favor the second design's implementation, but we'll be coming back to that one after I show you the first design, since that's where the concept all began and has been featured in my most recent builds. As an example, we'll be building the disconnectable external TC off of a 2x2 base. From the desired side, build out foundations so that you get a triangle with the tip pointing towards the base. Then, build out 3 squares followed by 6 triangles to form a hexagon. Remove these respective foundations. If applicable to your design, build a double door frame. Then close off this triangle foundation with half-height walls. Remove the foundation to float the double door frame. Build 2 frames off of the enclosed foundation. Then upgrade the hexagon to stone. Surround it with 5 walls and a single door frame on the perimeter with the entrance facing towards the floating frames. Split the hexagon in half with a wall and another single door frame. Upgrade the rest to stone and use sheet metal doors in the frames. Tool cupboard goes in this triangle. Place a half-height twig wall in this front area. Do not upgrade this past twig. Then place 2 triangle frames off of it. Complete the connection to the floating frames. As you acquire the resources, finalize the external to its final build grades. Close off the tool cupboard with a window frame. Thanks to the upcoming December update, you'll have to use reinforced window bars, which cost high quality metal to have the same strength that the reinforced windows had. This double door frame must be upgraded to sheet metal, as otherwise it is vulnerable to splash damage from outside on the top corner. Occupy it with a garage door. Replace these sheet metal doors with armored doors. Alternatively, you can use garage doors instead of single door frames. They provide slightly better maneuverability, don't require any high quality metal upkeep, and means that you'll have to deal with one less blueprint. However, they are slightly weaker and you lose out on an airlock. Upgrade the ceiling as shown. In front of the tool cupboard, put a locker up against this wall, 2 sleeping bags, and 2 campfires in front of it. Optionally, you can put shotgun traps in this spot and in the TC compartment. For the second design, we'll follow the same initial steps, but when we get to placing the 6 triangles to form the hexagon, we'll raise up the first 4. Then, remove the first raised foundation, place a half-height wall, followed by a triangle floor and frame. For now, upgrade the frame to stone. Place a full-height foundation where the triangle frame is so that they are occupying the same spot. At the hexagon, place these respective walls and door frames. Then, upgrade the hexagon to stone. Place a twig half wall in this spot. Do not upgrade this past twig. Use sheet metal doors in the frames. Tool cupboard goes in this triangle. Outside of the external, you can now complete the connection to the floating frames. Close off the ceiling. As you acquire the resources, finalize the exterior to its final build grades. Before you close off the tool cupboard triangle with a window frame, upgrade the triangle frame in the foundation to sheet metal. Then, close off the tool cupboard. Thanks to the upcoming December update, you'll have to use reinforced window bars, which cost high quality metal upkeep to maintain the same strength that the old reinforced glass windows had. This double door frame must be upgraded to sheet metal, as otherwise it is vulnerable to splash damage from the outside on the top corner. Occupy it with a garage door. Build a half-height shelf here which can hold a couple large and small boxes. Underneath it, you can fit 3 small boxes into the triangle and 1 large next to the second sleeping bag. 2 optional drop boxes can fit on the wall above the 3 small boxes. Alternatively, you can remove the second triangle shelf and put a 3rd sleeping bag with a barbecue and small box. Replace these sheet metal doors with armored doors. For both versions, you can place high external walls clipping through the floating double door frames to establish a compound. At the floating double door frames of the external TC, simply place your first wall parallel to the half-height triangle so that the wall is clipping through the frame like shown. Then place a second wall next to it, making sure it's as straight as possible. Put metal barricades on the enclosed triangle and build out 3 metal frames off of the external TC to prevent players from building twig towards the wall. Just be aware that should you choose to clip the high external walls through the floating frames, in the event they are destroyed, you will not be able to replace the frames unless the high external walls are not present, as they will block you from building or clipping through them. On taller structures, you may have to build frames to bring the privilege up vertically. If the tower extends outside of the building privilege of the external TC, raiders can take over the main base by placing a TC at the top. Additionally, Dirac informed me that it is technically possible for raiders to break the twig half-height walls by shooting HE grenades through a crack between the metal walls into the room. He provided a lovely chart that shows the external's invulnerability to splash damage, but as you'll notice, sometimes the grenades are able to break the twig by chance. He has assured me that while this is very rare and difficult to consistently recreate, it is still possible on both versions. He estimates, on average, you would be spending so many HE grenades in an attempt to break the twig support that it wouldn't be very cost efficient from a raiding point of view. Given the recent commits by Facepunch that will be reducing splash and damage of HE grenades, this may not be even the case in a week or so. If you're still concerned though, you can mitigate this by hanging a door frame off of the corresponding corner. Again, probably not something you have to worry about, but you should know about it. With that being said, that concludes what I am considering the best disconnectable external TC design right now. Both instability frame concepts allow for lots of exciting design opportunities to make simple and compact externals without being vulnerable to soft siding. I encourage you to try one of these versions or take the core concept and apply this with the features you see fit. Regardless of what you decide, I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to check out the creators and videos I mentioned today. Those will all be linked in the description below. Consider subscribing for future content, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.